Over the last 20 years everyone in my close family has died. Both my parents are gone, my grandparents on both sides, all my dad's uncles, and anyone who is still alive are scattered out among the country. All I 20F have left is my siblings and my bill. My friend, 23F, comes from a different family. All the uncles, aunts, cousins, grandparents have monthly parties, stay in touch, have big celebrations, the works. All of them are still alive and active. I think she knows I'm sensitive to the topic, as I wish I had a big family, as she sometimes makes these comments like, you know, when you get married your guest list will be so small compared to mine ... but hey, at least it will be cheap. At my mom's funeral there were still a lot of open chairs, and she told me if this was a family member of hers all the seats would be full. She is aware of my many deceased family members. I took some pictures of me, my siblings, and my bill cooking for Thanksgiving and us playing games at the dinner table and post them on social media. She texted me privately saying we looked like we were having fun, followed by pics of her huge family, and remarked the dinner table was full of family. This is where I may be the asshole, I replied. Lovely. Have fun, we'd have a full table too, but with the snow it was too hard to dig everyone out of their graves. She was silent for a few hours, then replied that joke was morbid and made her uncomfortable, and I really need to check my attitude. Ada? I have a 4-year-old daughter, Emma. I am an alcoholic and I've been sober for 2 years. My brother was Emma's court-appointed guardian from when she was 15 months old to just before her 3rd birthday. I had to fight for almost a year to get her back. My brother and Sil are still upset that I took Emma from them and have called CPS on me numerous times and make it clear that they don't trust me to take care of my own kid. They love Emma and Emma loves them, so I try to take her to see them a couple times a month. A couple weeks ago, Emma caught the stomach flu from someone at her preschool. I'm in school full-time and had a midterm that day, so I asked my brother to watch her for a couple hours so I could take my test. They said they were happy to take her, so I brought her to their house that morning with her medicines, a schedule saying when she's supposed to take which medicine and the dosage, a bottle of Pedialyte, and a few changes of clothes. I came to pick her up after the midterm and half her medicines, her clothes, and her Pedialyte were gone. When I asked about it they said they threw away all of her medicines and the Pedialyte because they were liquids and they were already opened, so I could have put something in there to make her sick, sleep. Not that it helps much, but I never heard my daughter or gave her anything that wasn't recommended by her pediatrician. They also said I shouldn't be giving her Tylenol and Motrin. Again, her doctor said it's fine, so they didn't buy her any Motrin. Then I asked about the nausea medicine, prescription, and they said they didn't think she needs prescription meds for the stomach flu. They also felt her clothes weren't good enough for her, so they gave it to their neighbor for their garage sale and bought her new clothes, meaning they most likely took her shopping when she was sick and should have been resting. I left with Emma and haven't spoken to them since, except to tell them they will not be allowed anywhere near my kid unsupervised. I'm working on Thanksgiving, so I was going to drop Emma off with my parents so she could see my family, but I still don't want her to be around them without me, so I'm leaving her with her babysitter instead. Now my family is giving me a hard time for not letting my brother and Sil see Emma and are excusing what they did by saying they were just worried about her. Ada for not letting my daughter see my brother and Sil. Edit: I'm not going to do the postcards. It'll be a lot cheaper and easier to send an email saying we moved after we get settled in. I, 19F, have been with my boyfriend, 25M, for about 6 months. We don't live together, but I spend a lot of my time at his place. A week ago or so I was feeling quite sick. Not wanting to drive home, I spent the night at his place. He woke me up at about 5 a.m., and to my great embarrassment, I had wet the bed. I helped him clean up the best I could. I had a temp of about 103.8 F and he took me to the hospital. They kept me overnight. A few days later when I saw him again I apologized for what happened. He told me it's alright, and that he got me a gift. He pulled out a package of adult diapers and threw them at me. I told him that I didn't think it was very funny and explained that I was embarrassed, but he thought it was hilarious. I decided to let it go and talk about it later. We went to a party that night, not really a party, us and 6 other friends. About an hour away. I drove, since he doesn't have a car. After he had a few beers he started loudly telling them what had happened, forgetting to mention that I was sick and had a high fever, just the part of me wetting the bed and him buying the diapers. He encouraged my friends to joke about it, and after trying to explain but being talked over or laughed at, I left and went home. My boyfriend is obviously quite upset I left without him. I just didn't want to be stuck in a car with him for an hour. He sent me several texts since then, most of which are calling me too sensitive and not able to take a joke. Some of my friends agree with him. Ada? Background: I, 35, am married to my husband, 37, of 6 years and working mother, nurse, of 3 kids. We were at my in-laws' house for Thanksgiving dinner and every family member was able to make it. We were at dinner table when my Bill started talking about his girlfriend's newfound hobby, which is dancing, and said she's been dancing for him every night after she gets back from her Zumba classes. The men in the family clearly got interested and they kept talking about it in details as me and other women were just rolling our eyes. My husband then and all of a sudden just threw his fork and looked at me and said, "Hey Jess. Fake name, why can't you dance for me when you come home every night like Bill's GF name does?" I was blown away by his question and really thought he was joking, but no. I looked around and saw everyone staring at me with my cousin-in-law sarcastically singing the Dance Monkey song. I flipped out and said I don't know, maybe because when I get home I cook, then start my cleaning routine, then feed the kids dinner, then do the dishes, then get our 8-month-old to sleep, then clean the messy bathroom and bedroom, then suddenly fall asleep the minute I get in the bed from being exhausted from working on my feet all day long, then coming back to messy home and demanding kids and a husband. God, what a terrible wife I must be to not find time to dance. He froze in his place and the entire table got quiet. Then my soul's jerk, cop husband who hates my husband's guts, started laughing, then said, "Good God. Commie guess turkey. I mean chickens are really coming home to roost, huh?" My husband's face was so pale he just told everyone after noticing how awkward things got that he needed a minute outside. He got up and walked out and I followed him, and he flipped out at me saying, "Great job making Thanksgiving awkward and embarrassing him in front of his family like that." An argument ensued and he said he wanted to leave after I caused him to be in an awkward position in front of family. We got home and he shut down completely. I stayed with the kids and couldn't sleep even after I called my Mill, his stepmom, saying good on me for calling him out as he stepped out of line, but she could be biased since she hates his guts too, and I just felt guilty when I think about what happened, thinking I mishandled the situation and ruined Thanksgiving for everyone. Ada? We hosted Thanksgiving at my place. My brother, his wife, and their almost 4-year-old son were among the guests. As people were leaving, my brother asked if my nephew could take home one of my 2-year-old son's toy trucks. My nephew had been playing with it non-stop since they arrived and wanted to keep it. My brother said that he'd replace the toy if I told him where I got it. I told my brother that I'd be happy to give him a link to the store where I bought it, but I would not give him the toy then and there. I refused for 2 reasons. Firstly, my brother, sister-in-law have a terrible habit of giving my nephew everything he asks for. He is way too old for that. Secondly, I don't want to reinforce in my nephew that it's okay to just take things he wants. My brother said that my nephew would throw a tantrum if he didn't get the toy then and there, and that everything would be easier if I just let him take the toy and get sent a replacement in the mail. I told my brother that I would not be an enabler for my nephew's bad behavior, and that it's my brother/Sill's problem if he throws a tantrum. Of course, the inevitable happened. My nephew started shrieking inconsolably at the top of his lungs and my brother/Sill/nephew had to leave. Later that evening I got an angry text from my brother saying that my nephew screamed his head off for the entire 3-hour car ride home and only stopped screaming after he literally passed out from exhaustion. He said that the tantrum was my fault since it would have been completely avoided if I'd just given my nephew the toy, and accused me of backseat parenting, since in his words it's not my place to set an example for his son. My wife thinks we should have just handed the toy over to make things easier, especially since our son has a ton of toys, and is not particularly attached to that specific truck, and would not have noticed it missing for just a couple days. I still maintain that it's well within my rights to set an example for my nephew even if it goes against my brother/Sill's parenting style of coddling their son, and that the tantrum is 100% a result of their terrible parenting habits. About 3 years ago, my sister and her husband lost their 3 young children in a really bad car accident. My sister barely survived but pulled through. They had 2 daughters who were 8 and 6 and a 3-year-old son. I won't go into specifics surrounding the accident or their deaths because it's quite frankly horrific. My sister and I are 10 months apart and have always been extremely close. At the time of my nieces and nephews' deaths, I was living alone in a 3-bedroom home and offered for them to live with me. They were both, understandably, too unable to function to go back to work, and we all needed each other. I didn't want them to have to worry about money or losing their home after what had happened. I've supported them emotionally and financially pretty much ever since it happened. They both refuse to go to therapy, and still both aren't working. I have a good job, but it's not an easily manageable thing, and I really didn't expect it to go on so long. About 1.5 years ago, I met my current fiancé. We clicked immediately and got engaged 6 months later. We're due to get married next October. I've been trying to drop hints to my sister about wanting my house back to myself to live in with my fiancé, but she's not picked up on it. My fiancé has grown increasingly frustrated with me, saying I'm very obviously being taken advantage of. Last weekend, I straight up told my sister I needed to talk to her, and told her that I wanted my house back and to live with my partner alone before getting married and starting to have children. She got upset and went running to her mom, who called me an asshole for not considering how my sister would feel about that. It hasn't been mentioned since, but both my sister and Bill are hardly talking to me. Ada?